Second. We're live. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another week of Monday Money Talks. Really excited this week to have Jacob Roig. We actually got together on just to get to know you over Zoom, and we were chatting about money stories and having such a great conversation. I thought, ooh, he needs to come on the show and share his story with all of you. And I decided, I know last week was our first week. We had Paul Rogers on, and we had a great conversation. And I told him I was going to organically flow with it and see what came out of it. And what came out of it is that I decided to structure this as a 30-ish minute, really laser focused conversation about really specific money tips that are going to be brought to you each and every week so that you are going to walk away with some great takeaways. So we're going to start by introducing Jacob. Sorry. This is the funny thing about live broadcasts. It's telling me I'm having an issue on LinkedIn. What does that mean? Please check LinkedIn to ensure the stream looks okay. Let's see what happens. I'm going to look real quick just to see what happens. Connect to LinkedIn. I know we're live on other areas as well. It says it's waiting to broadcast, but it's not live. So I'm not sure what the deal is there. So we're probably just going to keep going. Jacob, are you versed in StreamYard?
Not a lot.
Okay. Yeah, I am new to StreamYard. So this is only my second broadcast. So when it tells me that, I'm like, oh, okay. I'm not sure what that means. It says it's waiting for the broadcast. I know we're live also on Facebook and YouTube. So maybe we'll wait just a couple seconds and see if anything changes. Doesn't look like it's going to, though, and I don't want to hold us up. So we'll just go for it and see if something magical happens. So Jacob, go ahead and tell us a little bit about you, your background, and what you do. I put it in the guest notes, but share with listeners and viewers what you do.
Yeah, thanks for having me first. I appreciate that. And so I work with coaches and entrepreneurs that have established a level of success, but are at their point where they're looking to scale up, and they're either in their way or they're just hesitant on taking it to that next level. So I help them with becoming profitable, how to double their income without doubling their time, and related to time, which is one of the more important things once you get that success level, is how to double the time that you have off, so that you can actually kind of revisit that dream we originally start with and forget as we get too involved with running our business day to day.
Yeah, that's awesome. Such powerful stuff. I mean, it's like staying focused on what's important. I love in yours, it's like it's doing lifestyle fun in a lot of ways, like building your business for your lifestyle and also not losing profits while you get more aligned, I would imagine, is the tips that you teach people.
Yeah, well, it's first learning how to be profitable. Most people believe that they are, but once you take them through a formula, you'll know if you are, so that every transaction should generate a specific amount of profit. It's similar to what corporations do. And so if corporations do it and they're successful, why not us, just on a smaller scale sometimes?
Yeah. Awesome. Good tips for people. I know, or good strategies for people that haven't worked in the corporate world and want to implement it in their own personal businesses. I want to ask you, because I know something that you and I talked about on our Zoom was some of your money story, and we're going to get into it a little bit, but I'd love to just kind of have you share a little bit of background for you in terms of, this is going to be in your question. What would you say is the number one money lesson you learned as a kid growing up? And I'm sure that'll incorporate some of your childhood experiences, but I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, well, on the bad side of the fence was, rich people are, bad, money doesn't grow on trees. I heard all of those limiting beliefs and factors. So I had to unravel all of those and get out of limited and scarcity mindset, which, fortunately enough, I read books and had mentors. Had I attempted to do it on my own, it might be a lifelong journey instead of just taking years, for sure. But it's really about understanding true abundance and how much is really out there, and focusing our mindset or shifting from limitation to possible, and then being willing to stay persistent enough at it to allow it to show up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What would you say you did in order to, I mean, you're saying going from the limitation to what's possible. What were some of the strategies you implemented or ways that you started to shift your thinking around those limited beliefs?
Yeah, well, one was becoming an entrepreneur. I had worked with them from a corporate perspective in sales. I sold Yellow Page advertising. I started working with entrepreneurs to let them understand how their advertising was working or wasn't, so that I could either recommend more or less to them. But it was also understanding the value of return on investment, number one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then realizing once I became an entrepreneur, why anybody would ever work under the table when you can use the laws that are already in place to deduct and to claim things that are legit, and reduce your taxable income. I mean, that opened up this whole new realm of like, oh my God, this is fantastic, you know?
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to me, like thinking about the money tricks that a lot of people don't know. And even having a business, even if it's, let's say you add a personal business that's making 20 grand a year, you have a opportunity now to have a ton of write-offs, right? So most people don't know this. Even if they have a side hustle, it's a huge tax benefit to you. So yeah, that's cool that you teach people that. I mean, obviously I would imagine you're teaching, do you mostly work with full-time coaches and entrepreneurs?
Yeah, they'll be full
Okay.
time, 100%. I do work with some startups, but they have to be really ready to take it to that next level, not stick their toe in.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm in the same boat. I love working with established or highly driven on startups.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, share with us what's a quote you live by. I love quotes, and I think they're so valuable for people.
Yeah, well, my favorite one, it's on my wall and been there for 20 plus years, is be the change you wish to see in the world. It's Gandhi's statement, and my own experience with that is taking it to another level, which is when you become the change that you desire and seek, everyone and everything around you changes without them having to do anything. I've experienced it on many different levels, personal and with business. But how we show up, is impacts everything and everybody around us. So be that change, which comes back to you have to be really clear and very specific in what it is that you desire, and then work our tail off to get there.
That's an interesting one. Well, let's dig there a little bit. Do you like, in terms of thinking about money making, do you think you have to work your tail off to be successful?
There's moments where you do. I'd probably correct that a little bit after thinking about it, but there's moments where you have to sacrifice some time. You have to put in the extra effort. You got to work the 7 day week. But part of what I teach is people that get involved in that on a repeating basis, where they
Mm-hmm.
forget to take that time off. It's really understanding how you take it to that next level once you achieve your first, you know, level or step of success. Where your lifestyle is afforded by the business that you chose to do, and then how
Yeah.
you start separating yourself from being the doer of all to being the overseer of all, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you say that because I think a lot about the different stages of development in business and how it's like in the beginning, like I think sometimes about like the Tim Ferriss 4 hour work week or something. And I go, that is some BS when you're starting a business.
Yeah.
Like, not very likely unless you already have a massive following and or have built several businesses successfully and already have a delegated team or something along those lines, then yeah, I could see how that's doable. But I think for the average startup who's newer to business and there's a steep learning curve, what would you say about that in terms of time and money in? Because I definitely see it as a stage-based or phase-based business building.
Yeah, I do too. I think, you have to really focus on three things, but the most important thing is your marketing and your sales. If you're
Mm-hmm.
not marketing your business, you're not having enough conversations. If you don't have enough conversations, you won't convert sales. And one cancel can be a complete total disappointment if that's all that you have. We have
Mm-hmm.
to focus on that part. And I think, and then it's how you create a simple enough system that can be followed by somebody else. It has to be
Mm-hmm.
repeatable. And as soon as you learn it, as soon as you implement it, as soon as you get unconscious with it, look in ways to delegate it out. And then pricing is so critical and important because if you price things properly, you're covering your expenses, you're paying
Mm-hmm.
yourself, and you create a profit for your company, which affords new things instead of it coming out of your pocket. And
Hmm.
then one quick myth I would tell anybody that's starting up: don't believe the lie or myth that you don't pay yourself for the first year. You pay yourself from first sale. If you don't factor that into your pricing, you're making a big mistake because how are you going to do it a year later if you're not already doing it now?
Yeah, I love that. In money workshops I've been to, that's always been a very highly recommended, so like people think, oh, I'm going to overlook myself and I've got to pay it out to the business. But if you pay yourself first, you actually signal, in my mind, you signal responsibility with money and you also signal your value. And there has to
Yes.
be quick wins. If we think about the neurobiology of making money, if we're working our butt off and not bringing in any profits, we create a negative neural feedback loop. So we got to create positive neural feedback loop where we're like, yeah, my efforts are making some money.
Yep.
So it's one really important way to start. So that's great advice. Um, I'm curious, how do this question doesn't, I'm not going to ask this question because it doesn't really apply to you because you are in the business of helping people make more money. So it's such a direct relation. What would you say is your biggest money belief or block that you've had to overcome to be successful in your business?
Mine was scarcity
Okay.
mindset, where you feel you can't afford it. There comes a point where, and we've all heard this more than likely, which is you can't afford not to.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not pricing it properly right from the start, and that's one of the things that I learned too, which was taking it to that level of knowing how to price things properly so you can afford these things.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that limited or scarcity mindset that told me I have to wait till this is right or to do this, that held me back, and it stops you from your success. It doesn't help your success.
Hmm. Will you share with listeners, or it's funny, I'm used to doing my podcast, so I say listeners, with viewers, what some of the bigger things that were on your radar that you felt like you couldn't afford, just so we can get really practical?
Yeah, one of the most important things is delegating, getting team.
Okay.
Getting, if you're a solopreneur, it's getting an assistant, hiring a coach, getting outside vendors to help you. That's all part of the team. They don't have to be an employee or a subcontractor. So all of these are factored in. If you're looking at really successful people, they all have strength coaches, mindset coaches. It's part of the deal. If you're looking to take yourself to seven figures or mid six figures or higher, you have to have that outside influence that's able to see and little bit of guidance and direction or keep you on track.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other part is delegating the things that take the most of your time, but are not the best value of your time invested.
Mm-hmm.
Starting at that point, and that's where those simple systems, where you do step by step everything that you do, so that you could hand off that form or paper to somebody, and they wouldn't have to ask you a question. If you're doing that, you're on a good path.
Do you think, again, this phase based question, where do you think is the right moment or when is the right moment for people to know that it's time to delegate? And to take the leap into like, okay, I can afford this because it actually is going to make me money instead of costing me money. Do you think there's a common thread of when people should do that or could do that?
Yeah, I think physically, it's if you're missing a call or you're running late for things, that means you're already probably doing more than is in your capacity zone. And everybody's a little bit different to how much they can take on and how many
Mm-hmm.
things they can do at once. But as soon as you start missing an appointment, forgetting to follow up, responding to an email, it's time. It's
Okay.
usually 2 months before we even think about it because we're running ragged and we got to get this, we got to get that. But the sooner
Yeah.
the better. As soon as you create a system, which is step by step repeatable, you're ready to embrace delegation. And as soon as if you're pricing it properly, you're going to price your help as well into your pricing format. So it shouldn't be, can I afford it? It's just, is it time? And if so, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah, it's been fun in my business to do that, like take the leap. I remember when I hired my first assistant, I was like, I'm a little scared. You know, it was that feeling of, oh, there's going to be money going out. I don't have security or stability yet in my business, but I also knew like I need to free up this time every week to do other activities. And never have I delegated something yet where I regretted it or felt like, oh, I wish I weren't spending money on this delegation. Because I always tell people it frees up time for you to live in your zone of genius. And then you're giving someone else the opportunity to live in theirs. So you're delegating something to them that they enjoy doing, and then you get to do more of what you enjoy doing and the highest money makers for you. And so it's that, but it does take that idea in your mind of like, I can afford this, and delegation makes money. It doesn't cost me money.
Yeah, it does. Well, and it comes to that question that I said earlier is, can you afford not to do this anymore?
Yeah.
Because we get in our way of success by taking it on and being limited to what we can do. There's only so much time and so much effort we can put in.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I work with when I work with somebody is, let's say it's 4 hours of time a week that you free up.
Mm-hmm.
What can you do creatively to help your business grow for 2 hours and then take 2 hours off? That's starting to live that lifestyle. You'll find you'll be much more productive. You'll probably come up with more money-making ideas, and you get time off.
Yeah, I like that. I had no idea our conversation was going to go so much in my mind of phase-based building your business. But it's so true. It's like the more and more that I'm a third year in my business, and I start to look at it and go, oh, I'm starting to make more money with doing less effort. And part of it is that blocking off, like typically on Fridays, unless I get invited onto someone else's platform, and I almost always say yes to those opportunities because I love to do that. But let's say I don't on a Friday, I block it off for full business development creativity day. It's like, what projects need to be explored? What do I get to play with? And the more and more that I've allowed myself to do that, the easier my business building goes. So I always tell people, you got to block in the time for creative endeavors, because if you're just always going and doing and kind of on that treadmill, you start to lose your creative spark that I think keeps your business flowing really well and your money flowing well.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And we train ourselves to become reactionary instead of responsive.
Yeah.
And reactionary keeps us busy, but doesn't keep us productive.
Yeah, that's great. Absolutely. What would you say is your fastest strategy to make money in your business?
This is where your tail off makes sense. Market your tail off, right? Which, like if I'm working with somebody who's already in success mode, let's focus on their marketing strategy. What are they doing? And are they hitting enough people to initiate enough response back? We can focus on our ideal client, but that doesn't mean that they're all ready. So that's why marketing has to be repetitious, right? So that you hit them when they are ready. But it's marketing enough in enough different areas. And we're in an era now where, 20 years ago, you had to spend money to market. That's the only way you could do it. Now we can spend half or maybe the same amount, but it's considered half because of inflation. But with social media, with the lives that we're doing right now, we can reach thousands of people for just the time that we're spending and the cost of the program, which is 20, 30, 40 bucks a month. That would have cost us tens of thousands of dollars to promote 10, 15, 20 years ago. So marketing. That's the name of the game. We're a marketing and sales company that happens to do whatever it is that we do. That's how you got to look at it.
Yeah, that's something that in business startups, I think a lot of people overlook, especially coaches, when it's like you've got this heart-centered mission and you're like, I just want to help the world, but you forget that one of the hats that you've got to wear, and probably one of the most important hats, is marketing. And marketing the right message to the right people, and to me, I always look at the highest ROI, obviously, so do you, and go like, okay, well, how do you get your message out there even for free through organic traffic and all of those different types of things? What would you say, I know I asked you what's the number one money making strategy. You said market your tail off. What would you say is your number one marketing strategy that's been effective for you?
Well, for me, it's been organically. It's been
It
social
has.
media
Okay.
and email marketing has been my two. My second, which would be a close one, would be doing. I did a lot of Facebook advertising and some Google ads. But
Okay.
that's the way I've connected on a global level. And then my third strategy would be joint ventures and collaborations. And now in today's era, it spills into doing shows like this.
Yeah. Okay. And what's your JV? I mean, often in your joint ventures, are they often reciprocal win-wins where someone has you on and you have them on, or you just go on their show, or talking about affiliate type of program payouts?
Yep. It would be a combination of doing some workshops or webinars.
Okay.
In the past, we could do live events.
Yeah.
One of my side passions is I'm a certified firewalk instructor, and I take people through these events. So that was made it very easy to be a collaborative JV because it's a nice add-on to what they already had. So collaborations right now are on the rise, and in the best way possible, because we realize that even if we offer the same exact thing, there's enough for everybody.
Yeah.
So I would look at collaborations for sure, no matter what level you are.
Yeah. Yeah. The collaborations and joint ventures have been huge for me. And even just, I think people in the live broadcast world like this or podcasts, it's such a tight knit, friendly community. I mean, it's huge, but it's also like podcasters are so willing to share and valuable free information. And so I love doing this kind of thing. When you said email, are you talking drip campaigns? Is that what you mean by email? Or are you doing like direct mail, cold leads? Is this to your warm market?
It depends on the business who I work with. For me personally, it's been, email gathering, working my list and increasing my list. But don't discount direct mail. It's still a viable market if you deal locally or if you deal nationally with certain things. It's a very viable market, and it still works effectively if you have the right copywriter, for sure.
And when you say direct mail, you're talking like snail mail.
Snail mail,
Yeah.
The old 6x9 postcard that is isolated just to you. I don't encourage group mailings. They work on a local level, but even that rate of return is pretty low. That's why they're low cost.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. And for social media for you, is it just posting, sharing content that's related to your audience on a consistent basis? Would you say, is that the organic growth marketing you've done?
Yeah, it's persistence, number one. It's sharing value, making sure you're talking to your client, not at your potential client. And then it's taking it offline. So it's having that online presence, but where the magic happens is all the offline conversations that you have. And that's where team can play a big role, because they can initiate the initial connection and then set up the call, and then you can just show up, which is the ideal situation.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I always like to give really practical tips to people who are listening. Like if they're going, oh, how do I grow my business as fast as possible and make money? I want to answer those questions for them. What would you say is a money making tool you use to grow your business on a consistent, like what's a tool you use consistently to grow your business that makes you money?
LinkedIn.
Okay.
Is a platform that I use for free. And that's how I do outreach. That's how I initiate conversation. That's how you and I met, through Paul Rogers. I met him through LinkedIn. It was another connection that I had a conversation with.
Yeah.
So networking is still extremely viable. You can use social media to do it. You can use virtual platforms. You just have to be good at showing up. You have to be good at choosing to share anything that you can to help somebody else out, and not attempting to sell every single person that you talk to. The opportunities will present themselves. Let them unveil. Don't try to cover them. Veil them over yourself.
Yeah. That's such good advice. I think it's funny because I've had, I don't know, my ongoing list, probably 115 meetings now, just get to know you, and all through LinkedIn, just talking to people, starting conversations. They start with me or I start with them. And then you just go, hey, let's get together. And I am always surprised where the conversations go. Sometimes it's like an invite onto their platform. Sometimes it's just like, hey, I got to know somebody really cool, another entrepreneur. Sometimes it leads to a client. Sometimes it leads to, it leads to the coolest things. But I like that approach you're talking about, how networking, and it's really relationship building. It's not selling. Because I'm sure you've been there where you've gotten on a get to know you and someone just starts kind of selling at you and you're like, whoa, this is not what this is about. Not at all. I've called someone out before on it. I said, hey, just to give you some feedback, this strategy doesn't work. Or I asked, does this strategy work for you? Because I feel really turned off by this conversation. And it turned into an incredible conversation, but it was like, so for everyone watching, just remember those conversations are exactly that. It's a conversation, it's relationship building, and it's letting something evolve into whatever it could be, instead of having some preset idea of like, I'm going to sell to you, or being afraid that people are going to sell at you too. I like to ask people sometimes if I feel like it's a salesy how you get the message in the DM and you're like, I can't tell if this is going to be a conversation. I'll ask very directly, hey, could you tell me more what we're going to talk about during this conversation? Because I know both of our time is valuable. And for me, I'm really interested in the getting to know you and not so interested in the being sold at, which I think most people feel that way. I would love to know, what is your definition, or if you had to describe the word genuine wealth in under 3 words, what would you say genuine wealth is to you?
Genuine wealth. It's honest. It's persistence, and it's authenticity.
Okay. Nice. All right. I'm integrating those 3. All right. Before we wrap it up, wow, I went 30 minutes. I'm never able to do that. So this is a good flow for me. What would you say just in terms of, if you had to give one tip of money-making advice for viewers, what is it? What's your best money-making tip for viewers?
Price your product, your service, your programs with a formula. Know what your expenses are. Know what you're looking to pay yourself. Know what you pay percentage in taxes. Add profit after that. So factor all of that together. What's it cost you to do business? You have fixed costs, you have variable costs sometimes. What are you looking at paying yourself? Or another employee to do that, and then how much tax do you have to pay? That has to come somewhere, and it shouldn't come out of your pocket. And then add profit at the end of it. If you can price things accordingly, you will always have a profitable transaction. You will always make or earn money for the services you provide.
I love this. We have Jeff. Hey, Jeff. Nice to see you here. I'm learning StreamYard, so seeing these come up, but he says, price your service with a formula. Boom. Nice work. Thanks for watching and being here, Jeff. Let's see now. There we go. This has been very valuable. Like I'm noticing I've never done a broadcast where I'm looking at the comments and doing all these things. So I'm a little bit trying to, move all around, and I'm sure it'll get better and better over time. Thank you for being here on the second Money Monday live talk. Will you share with people where is the best place to meet you? I know LinkedIn, and I don't see it here, but I know in the description I put your LinkedIn link. So what are the other places that people can find you if they want to learn more and connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me at my website, which is my name, jacobroig.com. Or you can just send me an email. And if anybody would like to take advantage of anything, send me a message. I'll give you the most valuable thing that I have, which is some of my time.
There we go. So that is did I spell that right? Yep, got that right. So there is how to meet with Jacob, hang out with him. Thank you so much for being here. It's been awesome to have you. Thank you, everyone who showed up. I know that this is a new adventure for me. So if you've hung out with me before, you can probably tell I'm looking around in multiple places. Great to see you, Jeff, and anyone else. And I will be back next week at noon Mountain Standard Time to bring you more money-making tips.
Thank you.
You don't go